Let me tell you something about the worst morning of my professional life. It started with a parking space, ended with a public humiliation. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, I became completely and embarrassingly obsessed with a woman I was fairly certain I despised. Her name was YURI. I know. Even her name was aggressive. Mine is Cha Monkey. Yes, my parents looked at their newborn daughter and chose that. I've made peace with it, mostly. I had worked at Seongjin Creative Group for 3 years before YURI arrived like a weather event nobody had forecasted. She transferred from the Busan branch on a Tuesday, which is already a suspicious day to arrive anywhere, wearing a charcoal blazer with the collar slightly turned up and carrying a coffee like she owned not just the building but the general concept of buildings. She walked past my desk without looking at me, which was fine, completely fine. I didn't need to be looked at. Before we go further, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now. We post GL stories every week and you do not want to miss what's coming. The first boardroom meeting was a Wednesday. I had prepared for that presentation for 2 weeks. 2 weeks of late nights, cold takeout, and my best friend Sim Kwanji telling me I needed therapy and also better snacks. I walked into that conference room with 47 slides and the quiet confidence of someone who had done everything right. YURI walked in 30 seconds later, sat directly across from me, opened her laptop, and proceeded to present a counter-proposal to my entire strategy using data I didn't even know existed. She didn't look at me once during the entire presentation. Our director, Ojola Ang, a small round woman who made enormous decisions with the energy of someone ordering lunch, looked between us both and said, "Interesting, very interesting. Let's see." Both approaches developed further, which in corporate language means fight it out and I'll watch. YURI finally looked at me then, just briefly, something unreadable in her eyes. Not quite a smirk, not quite an apology, just a look. And then she closed her laptop and left. I sat in that conference room for 4 minutes after everyone else was gone, reorganizing my feelings into something manageable. It did not work. "She's either going to be your greatest rival or your greatest problem," Sim Kwanji told me at lunch, stealing my rice without asking. "Same thing," I said. "No," she said wisely, pointing a chopstick at me. "They're really not." I did not understand what she meant at the time. I understand now. I understand completely now. The rivalry escalated with the specific momentum of something neither of us was steering anymore. It became a weekly occurrence. Boardroom disagreements that ran 15 minutes over schedule. Competing memos. The time I reorganized the shared project folder, and she reorganized it back differently and left a note that said the previous system was inefficient, with 0 further elaboration. I wrote back, "The previous system was mine." She replied, "My point exactly." I stared at that response for a long time. I was furious. I was also in a small traitorous corner of my chest, slightly impressed. The parking lot incident happened on a Thursday evening in November. I had just survived the most brutal quarterly review of my career. Ojola Ang had asked questions that required answers I technically had, but emotionally was not prepared to give. I walked out of that building at 8:15 in the evening looking, I am certain, like a woman who had been through something. YURI was leaning against her car in the parking lot. Our cars were parked next to each other. Had been for 3 months. Neither of us had ever mentioned it. She looked up when she heard my footsteps. And something happened on her face. Something quick and complicated. Before she said, "Rough meeting." Not a question. "You could tell," I said flatly. "You're holding your laptop like it personally wronged you." I looked down. I was gripping it with both hands like a weapon. I looked back up at her, and she, YURI, my professional nemesis, the woman who had rewritten my folder system and called it a mercy, she held out half a chocolate bar, just held it out, like it was nothing. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Part 2 is where everything changes and you will not see it coming. Trust me. I took the chocolate, I don't know why. Grief, maybe. Hunger. The specific weakness of a person who has had a very long day and is suddenly being offered something sweet by someone unexpected. We stood in the cold parking lot and ate chocolate in silence. And for the first time since she'd arrived, YURI felt less like a storm and more like someone standing in one with me. Here's what I knew about YURI by December. She took her coffee with no sugar and a look of faint disappointment, like the coffee had failed to be better. She arrived at work before everyone and left after most people. She had a habit of pressing her pen against her lower lip when she was thinking, which was distracting in a way I refused to examine. She was ferociously good at her job. And she had, on 3 separate occasions now, appeared in the parking lot at the exact moment I needed something I didn't know how to ask for. The second time she offered me half of whatever she was eating, a convenience store onigiri that time, which is arguably a more intimate offering than chocolate. I said, "Why do you keep feeding me?" She shrugged. "You forget to eat when you're stressed." I stared at her. "How do you know that?" "Because I watch." A pause. She looked slightly annoyed at herself for saying it. "The office is small." I turned back to my car and told my heartbeat to behave itself. It did not behave itself. If you're enjoying this story so far, subscribe right now and drop A in the comments. It genuinely helps us more than you know. The kiss happened because of an argument, which, looking back, was exactly the correct way for it to happen. It was a Friday. The project we'd been circling each other over for 2 months had reached its final presentation. Al Jalong had selected YURI's framework over mine, a decision I had been professionally prepared for and personally absolutely not ready for. I made it through the meeting. I made it through the hallway. I made it to the parking lot. YURI came out 3 minutes behind me.
Chamunki.
Don't. I turned around. "Please don't do the gracious winner thing right now." "I cannot handle gracious right now." "I wasn't going to be gracious," she said. "I was going to say, I'm sorry."
I blinked. What?
"Your approach was better in the first 2 phases." She said it plainly. The way she said everything, like facts were just facts and feelings about them, were secondary. "Oh, Jolaung chose mine for budget reasons, not quality. You should know that." I stared at her. "Why are you telling me this?" She looked at me for a long moment. That unreadable expression I had cataloged over 4 months of standing across conference tables from her. Except now, in the cold parking lot light, I could read it. I could read it completely. "Because," she said, "I have been competing against you for 4 months, and I think we both know it stopped being about work. Somewhere around week 3, the parking lot was very quiet." "That is a very precise timeline," I said. My voice was embarrassingly unsteady. "Week 3, she repeated. "You told me my counter-proposal had 1 structural flaw, and you were right. Nobody tells me I'm wrong." A pause. Something almost like wonder in her voice. "You didn't even hesitate." I laughed. Short and undignified and completely genuine. And then she crossed the space between us and kissed me. Not softly, not tentatively. The way YURI did everything with complete conviction and zero apology. I grabbed the front of her blazer with both hands and kissed her back with 4 months of accumulated feelings that had absolutely nowhere else to go. We broke apart gasping. Her forehead dropped to mine. "I rewrote your folder system," she said breathlessly. "I know. I'm not sorry about it. I know that too." She laughed. I felt it against my lips. And I decided, standing in a cold parking lot on a Friday night, with the woman who had made my professional life extremely complicated, that some problems are worth every single bit of trouble they bring. Sim Kwanji, when I told her the next morning, said, "I told you rival and problem were different things." She was devastatingly, completely right. And that's a wrap on this story. If you made it to the end, drop A in the comments and tell us, did you see that parking lot moment coming? Subscribe for new GL stories every week. We'll see you in the next one.